A 14-year-old girl stands in a courtroom, staring directly at her youth pastor sitting at the defense table. Her voice doesn't waver as she speaks her final words to him. I know you remember every minute of what you did. I hope you think about it every day in prison. Before we dive in, comment where in the world you are watching from, and don't forget to click subscribe. Sarah Mitchell's hands trembled as she placed her coffee mug on the kitchen counter, the ceramic clicking against granite in the otherwise silent house. 3:47 p.m. The digital clock on the microwave seemed to taunt her with each passing minute. She moved back to the window for what felt like the 100th time that afternoon, pressing her forehead against the cool glass and staring down Maple Street toward the church parking lot 3 blocks away. The October sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the neat suburban lawns, and a breeze sent yellow leaves skittering across her driveway like nervous thoughts she couldn't quite catch. Emma had been gone for 2 days. 48 hours that had felt like 48 weeks. It was just a youth group retreat, Sarah reminded herself. Pine Valley Campground, 2 hours north of their small town of Riverside. 15 teenagers, 3 adult chaperones, plenty of supervision. Emma had been on these trips before. She'd always come home tired but happy, full of stories about campfire songs and trust-building exercises and deep conversations about faith that had made her feel grown up and understood. But something had been different this time. Sarah couldn't put her finger on exactly what. Couldn't explain it in any logical way that would make sense to her sister Linda or her best friend Rebecca if she tried to articulate it. It was just a feeling, a mother's instinct, that invisible thread that connects a woman to the child she carried in her body, the one that pulls tight when something isn't right, even across miles of distance. The phone call Saturday night had started it. Emma had called at 8:30. Right during what Sarah knew was supposed to be evening worship time at the retreat. Sarah had answered on the second ring, eager to hear about Emma's day. Hey, sweetie. How's it going? Are you having fun? There had been a pause. Too long. Long enough for Sarah's stomach to clench. Yeah, it's fine. Emma's voice had been flat, empty, like she was reading from a script written by someone else. Fine? Just fine. What did you do today? Did you do the ropes course? You were so excited about that. We did it. It was okay. Okay? Honey, is everything all right? You sound tired. I am tired. Can I call you tomorrow? Of course, but if something's wrong. Nothing's wrong, Mom. I just wanted to check in. Love you. Bye. The call had ended before Sarah could respond. She'd stared at her phone for a long time afterward, replaying the conversation in her mind, analyzing every word, every inflection. Emma was 14. 14-year-olds got moody. They had mood swings and teenage drama and friendship conflicts that felt like the end of the world. Sarah had been 14 once. She remembered. But this felt different. Sarah had tried calling back 15 minutes later. The call went straight to voicemail. She'd texted. Just wanted to make sure you're okay. Love you so much. Emma had responded an hour later with a single word. Fine. That night, Sarah had barely slept. She'd lain in bed scrolling through Emma's Instagram, looking for clues she knew she wouldn't find. Emma's last post was from Friday afternoon before the trip, a selfie with her best friend Jenna captioned, "Church retreat time," with a dozen emojis. The comments were full of other youth group kids saying have fun and see you there and gonna be lit. Everything looked normal. Everything was normal. Except Sarah's gut said it wasn't. Sunday morning, she'd woken at 6 and checked her phone immediately. No messages. She'd texted Emma. Good morning, sweetie. Hope you slept well. Can't wait to hear all about the trip when you get home. The message had shown as delivered but not read. Sarah had gone to 8 a.m. Mass alone, sitting in their usual pew, her eyes drifting to the stained glass windows that had always brought her comfort, but today felt cold and distant. She'd prayed. Not the rote prayers from the missal, but desperate, formless pleas. Keep her safe. Bring her home to me. Let me be wrong about this feeling. After Mass, she'd stopped by the church office, thinking maybe someone had heard from the retreat leaders with an update. The secretary, Mrs. Patterson, a sweet woman in her 70s, had smiled warmly. Oh, Sarah. Emma's at Pine Valley, isn't she? I'm sure she's having a wonderful time. Pastor David always makes those retreats so special for the kids. He really has a gift for connecting with the youth. Pastor David. David Ellis. He'd been Riverside Community Church's youth pastor for 3 years, hired from a larger church in the city, with glowing references and an infectious enthusiasm for teen ministry. He was 42, married to Catherine, who taught 2nd grade at Riverside Elementary. No children of their own, which Pastor David said made him see all the youth group kids as his own in a way. He'd built the youth program from 8 teenagers to almost 30. He organized mission trips and game nights and Bible studies. He played guitar at worship services and made TikTok videos that made Bible stories relevant to Gen Z. The kids loved him. The parents trusted him implicitly. Sarah had trusted him implicitly. She'd driven home from church and cleaned the house even though it was already clean. Vacuumed, dusted, scrubbed the bathroom tile. Anything to keep her hands busy and her mind from spinning. At noon she'd made lunch she didn't eat. At 1 she'd tried to read a book, absorbing none of the words. At 2 she'd called her sister Linda. "You're being paranoid," Linda had said, not unkindly. "Em's probably just tired. You know how those retreats are. They stay up late doing trust falls and sharing their feelings. It's emotionally exhausting. She'll come home, sleep for 12 hours, and be back to normal." But what if what, Sarah? What are you worried about? That she fell and broke her arm and no one called you? That she got food poisoning? That aliens abducted her? You're spiraling. Emma is fine. She's with Pastor David and the Winters, and there are like a dozen other kids there. Nothing bad is going to happen at a church retreat. Linda was right. Logically, Linda was right. Sarah had let her sister's rational voice calm the frantic part of her brain for maybe 20 minutes. Then the anxiety had crept back in. Now it was 3:47, and the church van would be here any minute. Sarah had positioned herself at the window at 3:30, unable to stay away, unable to stop watching for it. She saw Mrs. Chen from next door checking her mailbox. Saw the Miller boy from down the street skateboarding on the sidewalk. Saw a silver Honda that wasn't the church van pass by. Her heart rate picked up with each passing car, then settled into disappointed relief when it wasn't the one she was waiting for. 3:51. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jenna's mom, Carol. "Van just left the church. 5 minutes." Sarah's heart hammered. She pressed both palms flat against the window, leaving prints on the glass. 5 minutes. In 5 minutes she'd see Emma and know for certain whether her fears were justified or just the overactive imagination of a worried single mother. In 5 minutes Emma would walk through that door and Sarah would pull her into a hug and smell the campfire smoke in her hair, and everything would either be fine or what? What was she afraid of? What did she think had happened? She didn't know. That was the worst part. Her fear had no name, no shape. It was just a dark, formless thing that had wrapped itself around her heart and squeezed. 3:53. A white 15-passenger van turned onto Maple Street. The Riverside Community Church logo was painted on the side, a cheerful purple cross with rays of light emanating from it. Sarah's breath caught. She watched the van slow, pull into her driveway. Watched the side door slide open. Teenagers tumbled out one by one, loud and laughing. Justin Wheeler with his too long hair. Madison Porter texting on her phone. Ryan and Michael, the twins, shoving each other playfully. Jenna stumbling out with her sleeping bag, hugging Carol who'd come outside to meet her. And then Emma. She emerged last, moving slowly like she was underwater. Her backpack hung off one shoulder. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and even from inside the house, Sarah could see that something fundamental had changed in her daughter's face. The animation was gone. The light behind her eyes was gone. She looked hollow, scooped out. Sarah's hands went cold. Pastor David appeared at the van's back door, helping unload duffel bags and sleeping bags, grinning and waving to parents. He was tall, well-built from his morning runs that he documented on Instagram, with sandy hair graying slightly at the temples in a way that made him look distinguished rather than old. He wore his standard youth pastor uniform of jeans and a Riverside Church hoodie. He said something to Emma, and Sarah watched her daughter's shoulders hunch. Emma nodded without looking at him, grabbed her bag, and turned toward the house. Sarah forced herself away from the window, moved to the front door, opened it before Emma had reached the porch. "Hey, sweetie." "How was it?" She tried to make her voice sound normal, casual, not like every nerve ending in her body was on fire with wrong, wrong, wrong. Emma didn't meet her eyes. "Fine. I'm tired. Gonna take a shower." She brushed past Sarah into the house, and Sarah smelled something that wasn't campfire smoke, something bitter and wrong that she couldn't identify. "Don't you want to tell me about—" "Later, Mom. Please." Emma was already halfway up the stairs. "Did something happen?" Talk to me." Sarah heard the desperation creeping into her voice and tried to modulate it. "I just need to shower, okay? I'm gross." Emma's voice cracked on the last word. Sarah stood at the bottom of the stairs, watching her daughter disappear down the hallway. Every maternal instinct she possessed was screaming. She looked back at the front door, still standing open. Through it she could see Pastor David at the van, laughing with Ryan's dad about something. He looked so normal, so trustworthy with his easy smile and his church hoodie, and his reputation as the pastor who really got through to kids. Sarah closed the door and leaned against it, her mind racing. Okay, Emma was home. She was safe. Whatever Sarah had been worried about, Emma was here now where Sarah could protect her. She just needed to give Emma space to settle in, let her shower and rest, and then they could talk. Teenagers needed space. Sarah remembered that from her own adolescence. You couldn't force them to open up. You had to wait until they were ready. But what if waiting was wrong? What if something had happened that needed immediate attention? What if every second Sarah waited made things worse? She moved to the kitchen, hands shaking. Put the kettle on for tea even though neither of them would drink it. Opened the refrigerator and stared at its contents, trying to decide what to make for dinner. Emma's favorite was pasta with marinara sauce and homemade garlic bread. Sarah had been planning to make it. Welcome home comfort food. But now the thought of cooking felt impossible. How could she cook when her daughter had just walked past her like Sarah was a stranger, like she couldn't even bear to make eye contact? The shower started running upstairs. Sarah tracked the sound, listening to the pipes in the walls. She walked into the living room and sat on the couch, then stood up immediately, too anxious to sit. She paced. Kitchen to living room to front hall and back again. The shower kept running. 5 minutes. 10. 15. Emma loved long showers, but this was excessive even for her. Sarah climbed the stairs, moved quietly down the hallway. Steam seeped out from under the bathroom door. Sarah pressed her palm against the door, feeling the moisture-warmed wood. "Emma? Honey, you okay in there?" No response, just the sound of water hitting tile. "Emma?" "What?" The word was sharp, defensive. "I just want to make sure you're all right." "I'm fine, Mom. Can you please just leave me alone?" Sarah stepped back from the door, tears stinging her eyes. Fine. Everyone kept saying fine. Emma was fine, the retreat was fine, everything was fine. But fine was becoming the most terrifying word in the English language. The water shut off. Sarah retreated to her bedroom across the hall, leaving her door open a crack so she could watch. A few minutes later, Emma emerged from the bathroom in a cloud of steam, wrapped in her bathrobe, her wet hair dripping down her back. She didn't look toward Sarah's room, just walked straight to her own room and closed the door firmly. Sarah waited 10 minutes that felt like hours. Then she walked to Emma's door and knocked softly. Can I come in?" "I guess." Sarah opened the door. Emma was sitting on her bed, dressed now in gray sweatpants and an oversized Riverside High t-shirt, her wet hair soaking into the fabric. She had her knees pulled up to her chest, arms wrapped around them. She was staring at nothing, her eyes fixed on a point on the wall above her desk. "Sweetie, please talk to me. I know something's wrong." Sarah sat carefully on the edge of Emma's bed, not too close, giving her space. "You haven't been yourself since your call Saturday night. Did something happen at the retreat? Did you have a fight with Jenna or one of the other girls?" "No." "Did someone say something mean to you? Are you feeling left out?" "No, Mom." "Then what is it? Please. I can't help you if you won't tell me." Emma's jaw clenched. Sarah could see her swallowing hard, fighting back tears. There's nothing to tell. The retreat was fine. I'm just tired. We didn't sleep much. Pastor David said you shared something during the testimonial service? About your dad? Emma's whole body tensed. Her eyes flickered to Sarah's face for just a second, then away. Yeah, I guess. You want to talk about that? About Dad. I know it's been hard since the divorce. If you're struggling with... I don't want to talk about Dad. I don't want to talk about the retreat. I don't want to talk about anything. Emma's voice rose with each sentence. I just want everyone to leave me alone. Can you do that? Can you please just leave me alone? The words hit Sarah like a slap. Emma had never spoken to her like that. Even during her worst 13-year-old mood swings, even when Sarah had had to ground her for missing curfew last summer, Emma had never used that tone. That angry, desperate, almost panicked tone. Okay, Sarah said quietly, standing up. Okay, I'll give you space. But Em, I need you to know that I'm here. Whatever it is, whenever you're ready to talk, I'm here. You can tell me anything. Anything at all. You know that, right? Emma didn't respond. Just kept staring at that spot on the wall. Sarah left the room, pulling the door closed behind her. She stood in the hallway, pressing her fist to her mouth to keep from crying out loud. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. She knew it with the same certainty she'd known when Emma was 3 and had stopped talking for 2 weeks after witnessing a bad car accident. The same certainty she'd known when Emma was 11. And her grandmother had been diagnosed with terminal cancer before the doctors had even told Sarah the test results. Mothers know. They know in their bones and blood and the deepest parts of their DNA. They know when their children are in pain. And Emma was in pain. Sarah went back downstairs and tried Linda again. I just saw her, Sarah said as soon as her sister answered. Something's wrong, Lynn. Really wrong. She won't look at me. She won't talk to me. She snapped at me when I tried to ask what happened. Sarah, you're catastrophizing. She's a teenager. She probably just had a fight with her friends and doesn't want to talk about it because it feels too big and embarrassing. Give her time. It's not that. I know it's not that. Then what do you think it is? Seriously, what's the worst-case scenario you're imagining? Sarah opened her mouth and then closed it. Because she couldn't say it. Couldn't speak the fear that was forming in the back of her mind. It was too horrible, too unthinkable. These were church kids, a church retreat, supervised by adults she trusted. Nothing bad could happen there. Except bad things happened everywhere. Sarah knew that. She read the news. She knew about abuse in churches, about trusted leaders who hurt children, about teenagers who kept secrets because they were scared or ashamed or convinced no one would believe them. I don't know, Sarah said finally. I don't know what I think. I just know my daughter is hurting and won't tell me why. She probably just needs to process whatever emotional thing happened at the retreat. David said they do testimonials, right? Maybe she shared something really personal and now feels vulnerable. That's actually healthy, Sarah. She's learning to open up about her feelings. Sarah wanted to believe that. God, she wanted to believe that so badly. Yeah. Maybe. After she hung up, Sarah made herself a cup of tea she didn't drink. She tried to read but couldn't focus. She turned on the TV but couldn't track what was happening on the screen. At 6:30, she made pasta and garlic bread working mechanically, her mind disconnected from her hands. She set the table for 2, put out Emma's favorite juice, made everything look normal and inviting. At 7, she climbed the stairs again and knocked on Emma's door. Em, dinner's ready. I made your favorite. I'm not hungry. Honey, you need to eat. You haven't had anything since breakfast. I'm not hungry, Mom. Please just go away. Sarah pressed her forehead against the door. Em, this isn't like you. Please. Please just come eat something. I said I'm not hungry. Emma's voice cracked. Why can't you just listen to me? Sarah retreated downstairs and ate alone at the kitchen table, every bite tasteless, her eyes constantly flickering to the ceiling where she could track Emma's movements. Or lack of movements. Emma seemed to be just lying in bed. Not moving at all. Not listening to music or scrolling her phone or doing anything Emma normally did. Just lying there in the dark. At 8:30, Sarah's phone rang. The caller ID showed Pastor David. Sarah stared at the screen for 3 rings before answering. Hello? Sarah? Hi, it's David. I hope I'm not calling too late. No, it's fine. I just wanted to check in about Emma. She seemed a little quiet on the drive back today, and I wanted to make sure she's doing okay. Is everything all right? The question felt loaded somehow, like he was fishing for information. She's tired, Sarah said carefully. Says she didn't sleep much. Yeah, these retreats are exhausting for them. So much activity, so many emotions. We really packed the schedule this year. Probably too much. He laughed, that warm, self-deprecating laugh that had always made him seem so relatable. I wanted to check in because Emma shared something pretty vulnerable during our testimonial service Saturday night. About her dad. About feeling abandoned. It was really brave of her to open up like that in front of everyone, but sometimes after you share something that raw, you can feel exposed afterward. I just want to make sure she has support. Sarah gripped the phone tighter. She's been pretty withdrawn since she got home. Won't really talk to me. That's normal. The testimonial time can be really intense. We create this sacred space where kids feel safe to share their deepest hurts. But then when they go back to regular life, sometimes they feel embarrassed about what they revealed. Give her some time to process, and let me know if there's anything I can do. I'm always available for counseling if she needs to talk. Thanks, David. I appreciate that. After she hung up, Sarah sat staring at her phone. Why had Pastor David really called? Was he genuinely concerned about Emma? Or was he checking to see if Emma had said something? The thought felt disloyal. This was Pastor David, the man who'd sat with Sarah after her mother's funeral and helped her process her grief. The man who'd mentored Emma through her confirmation. The man who organized food drives and visited sick congregation members and made dorky Christian rap videos that somehow managed to be both cringeworthy and endearing. But then why did the phone call feel wrong? Why did his explanation of the testimonial service feel rehearsed? Sarah's phone buzzed with a text. It was from Carol, Jenna's mom. Jenna said Em seemed off on the drive home. Everything okay? Sarah typed back. She's just tired. Thanks for checking. But everything wasn't okay. Sarah knew it wasn't okay, and she was running out of patience with everyone telling her it was. At 9:30, Sarah climbed the stairs one more time. She knocked on Emma's door, waited for permission that didn't come, then opened it anyway. Emma was lying on her bed in the dark, still dressed in sweatpants and a t-shirt, her eyes open and staring at the ceiling. Em, I'm worried about you. I need you to at least drink something. I'm going to bring you some juice and a sandwich, okay? You don't have to eat it if you really can't, but I need to see you. I need to know you're okay. Emma didn't respond. Sarah went back downstairs, made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, poured a glass of orange juice, and carried them upstairs. When she opened Emma's door, she could see that Emma had moved. She was now facing the wall, curled into a fetal position. Sarah set the plate and glass on Emma's nightstand. It's here when you're ready. She paused, looking at her daughter's back, at the rigid set of her shoulders. I love you, Emma. So much. And I know something's wrong. I know you're scared to tell me, but you don't have to be. There's nothing you could say that would make me stop loving you. Nothing. Still no response. Sarah turned to leave, and that's when she saw it. Emma's backpack was on the floor beside her desk, unzipped, clothes spilling out. Sarah knew she should leave it alone. Knew Emma valued her privacy. But the compulsion to understand what was happening was too strong. She knelt beside the backpack, moving quietly, her eyes on Emma's still form. Emma's breathing had evened out. She might be asleep. Sarah carefully reached into the backpack, pushing aside a hoodie, a pair of jeans, a Bible with the church logo on the cover. Her hand touched something soft, rolled up at the bottom of the bag. She pulled it out slowly, unfolding it in the dim light from the hallway. Underwear. Purple cotton underwear with little stars on them. The kind Emma had bought last month at Target. Excited because they came in her favorite color. Sarah almost put them back, not understanding why they were balled up at the bottom of the bag instead of in the laundry hamper, but something made her look closer. They were stains, dark stains that stood out against the purple fabric. Sarah's hand started shaking before her brain fully processed what she was seeing. She moved closer to the light from the hallway, and her stomach dropped. Blood. Not menstrual blood. Sarah had been doing Emma's laundry since she'd gotten her first period at 12. She knew what that looked like. These stains were different, darker, and they were in the wrong place. Not on the outside of the fabric where a period would stain. On the inside, where they would be if... Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Number. No, this couldn't be what it looked like. Emma had fallen. She'd scraped herself on a rough log at the campground. She'd gotten a nosebleed and used her underwear to stop it in a panic. There were a dozen reasonable explanations, but none of those explanations explained Emma's behavior. The flinching when Sarah tried to touch her shoulder earlier, the way she'd avoided Pastor David's eyes when she got out of the van. The hollow voice on the phone Saturday night, the desperate need to shower immediately when she got home, the refusal to eat or talk or look at Sarah. Sarah looked at her sleeping daughter, at her tear-stained face, at the way she'd curled herself into the smallest possible shape. And Sarah knew. She knew with the same certainty mothers have known things about their children since the beginning of time. Someone had hurt Emma. Sarah's vision blurred with tears. Her hands clutched the underwear, the evidence of something so terrible her mind was trying to reject it, even as her heart confirmed it. She stood on shaking legs and walked out of Emma's room, pulling the door closed behind her. She stood in the hallway, the underwear still clutched in her trembling hands, and tried to breathe through the rising panic. What was she supposed to do? Call the police? But what would she say? That her daughter was acting strange and she found blood in her underwear. What if she was wrong? What if there was an innocent explanation and she traumatized Emma by overreacting? What if Emma never forgave her for jumping to conclusions? But what if she was right? What if something horrible had happened to Emma this weekend and Sarah did nothing? What if whoever hurt Emma hurt someone else? What if this was Sarah's only chance to help her daughter and she let fear of being wrong stop her? Sarah looked at the stairs leading down to the kitchen, to the phone, to the decision she had to make. And she thought about all the stories she'd read over the years about parents who missed the signs, who convinced themselves nothing was wrong, who prioritized keeping the peace over protecting their children. She thought about those parents and how they must live with that regret for the rest of their lives. She thought about Emma, her sweet, smart, funny Emma, who used to believe the world was safe, who trusted adults to protect her, who had gone on a church retreat expecting nothing more than campfires and trust falls and deep conversations about faith. Sarah pulled her phone from her pocket with shaking hands. She dialed 911 before she could talk herself out of it. The phone rang once, twice. Then a calm female voice answered. 911, what's your emergency? Sarah's voice came out as barely more than a whisper. My daughter. I think someone hurt my daughter. Okay, ma'am. I need you to stay calm for me. Can you tell me your name and where you're calling from? Sarah Mitchell, 42 Maple Street, Riverside. The words came mechanically, like she was reading from a script. Like this wasn't her life, wasn't her daughter, wasn't real. And how old is your daughter? 14. Her name is Emma. She just got home from a church retreat a few hours ago and something's wrong. She won't talk to me, won't eat. She flinched when I tried to touch her. And I found... Sarah's voice broke. She pressed her fist against her mouth, fighting for control. I found blood. In her underwear. It's not from her period. I know what that looks like. This is different. Okay, Sarah. I'm dispatching officers to your location right now. They'll be there in about 10 minutes. Is Emma in immediate danger right now? Is anyone in the house who might hurt her? No. It's just the two of us. She's sleeping in her room. I think whatever happened, it happened at the retreat this weekend. And this was a church retreat? Yes. Riverside Community Church. There were 15 kids and 3 adult chaperones. They went to Pine Valley Campground Friday evening and got back this afternoon. Who were the adult chaperones? Pastor David Ellis. He's the youth pastor. And Bill and Susan Winters. They're married. They've been with the church for years. Okay. I need you to listen carefully, Sarah. Don't disturb any potential evidence. Don't wash anything. Don't move anything. The officers who are coming are trained in these situations. They're going to help you and Emma. Can you stay on the line with me until they arrive? Yes. Sarah slid down the wall outside Emma's bedroom until she was sitting on the floor, her knees pulled to her chest, the underwear still clutched in one hand. What do I do? How do I tell her I called? She's going to be so upset. She doesn't want anyone to know. That's a very common reaction for victims of sexual assault, the dispatcher said gently. They often feel ashamed, even though they have nothing to be ashamed of. The officers will know how to talk to her. They work with a special victims unit. They're trained for this. Special victims unit. Sexual assault. The words felt surreal. This couldn't be happening. This was Emma, her baby. The little girl who dressed up as a princess for 3 Halloweens in a row. The teenager who still slept with the stuffed elephant she'd had since birth. The bright, funny, loving kid who wanted to be a veterinarian and volunteer at the animal shelter and make the world better. This couldn't be happening to Emma, but it was. Sarah knew it was. She could feel it in her bones, in the same place where she'd felt Emma's first kicks when she was pregnant, in the same place where she'd known Emma was getting sick before a fever ever showed up. Mothers know. God help her. Mothers know. The minutes crawled by. The dispatcher stayed on the line, talking Sarah through breathing exercises, telling her she'd done the right thing by calling, assuring her that help was coming. Sarah could hear Emma moving in her room, a soft sound like she was crying in her sleep. Sarah wanted to go in there, wanted to gather Emma into her arms and promise that everything would be okay, but she couldn't. Not yet. Not until she understood what had happened and how to help. At 9:48, Sarah heard the doorbell. "They're here," she told the dispatcher. "Okay, I'm going to let you go. The officers will take it from here. Sarah, you did the right thing. You saved your daughter by calling." Sarah wasn't sure if that was true, but she ended the call and stood on shaking legs. She put the underwear carefully on the hallway table, not wanting to contaminate it any further, and walked downstairs. Through the front door's window, she could see 2 police officers on her porch. She opened the door. "Sarah Mitchell?" the female officer asked. She was in her 30s, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, kind eyes. Her badge said J. Chen. "Yes. I'm Officer Jennifer Chen. This is my partner, Officer Marcus Rodriguez. Can we come in?" Sarah nodded and stepped aside. They entered, and Sarah glanced across the street to see Mrs. Chen's porch light flicker on, her neighbor's face appearing briefly in the window. Great. By morning, the whole neighborhood would know police had been at the Mitchell house. Sarah closed the door. "Your daughter is Emma Mitchell, 14 years old?" Officer Chen asked, pulling out a notepad. "Yes. And you told dispatch you believe she may have been sexually assaulted?" Hearing the words spoken aloud made Sarah's legs buckle. Officer Rodriguez caught her elbow, helping her to the couch. She sat heavily, her head spinning. "I don't know for sure. I know something's wrong. Really wrong." Officer Chen sat in the chair across from Sarah, her posture open and unthreatening. "I need you to tell me everything from the beginning. When did Emma leave for this retreat?" Sarah took a shaky breath and began. She told them about Emma leaving Friday evening, about the phone call Saturday night that had felt wrong, about Emma coming home today and going straight to her room, about the way Emma had flinched when Sarah tried to touch her, about finding the underwear with blood that didn't look like menstrual blood. "The underwear is upstairs," Sarah said, "on the hall table. I touched it, but I didn't wash it or anything." "Good. We'll need to take that as evidence." Officer Chen made notes. "You said this was a church retreat. Can you give me the details? How many kids? Where exactly? Who was supervising?" "Pine Valley Retreat Center, about 2 hours north. There were 15 kids from our youth group. all teenagers between 13 and 17. The chaperones were Pastor David Ellis. He's 42, he's our youth pastor. And Bill and Susan Winters, they're in their 50s, married. They're just members of the congregation who volunteer with youth programs. Do you know if there were separate sleeping quarters? Boys and girls in different cabins? I assume so. That's how they've always done it before. The girls in one cabin, the boys in another, adults in a third cabin. And what's your relationship with Pastor David Ellis? Sarah hesitated. What was her relationship? He's been our youth pastor for 3 years. He's always been really good with the kids, really supportive. He counseled me when my mother died last year. He helped Emma through some tough times after my divorce. I trusted him completely. She heard her own words. Trusted. Past tense. When had that changed? In, the last 6 hours? Or somewhere deeper? In a part of her that had been trying to tell her something was wrong, but she'd been refusing to listen. Officer Rodriguez, who'd been standing by the door, spoke quietly into his radio. Sarah caught fragments. Possible sexual assault. Minor. Need SVU. Need forensics. Officer Chen leaned forward. Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. Has Pastor David ever done anything that made you uncomfortable? Anything with Emma or other kids that seemed inappropriate? Sarah opened her mouth to say no. Of course not. But she stopped. She thought back over 3 years, and suddenly memories were surfacing that she'd dismissed at the time. The way David always hugged Emma a little too long. The comments about how pretty Emma was getting. How grown up she looked. The way he'd text Emma directly sometimes instead of going through Sarah. The time Sarah had picked Emma up early from youth group and found David alone with Emma in his office. The door closed, both of them looking startled when Sarah knocked. David had explained they were discussing Emma's confirmation. Sarah had believed him. Had she been wrong to believe him? There were things, Sarah said slowly. Small things I didn't think much of at the time. He was always very affectionate with Emma. Lots of hugs. Comments about how special she was. But I thought that was just him being a caring mentor, being pastoral. What about other girls in the youth group? Have you heard anything about David being inappropriate with anyone else? Sarah thought. Emma had a friend, Kayla Monroe. She quit youth group about 6 months ago. Emma said Kayla thought David was creepy, but Emma defended him. Emma thought Kayla was just being dramatic. Officer Chen and Rodriguez exchanged a look. Do you have Kayla's parents' contact information? I can get it. Sarah pulled out her phone, scrolled through contacts, found Carol Monroe's number and texted it to Officer Chen. Sarah, we need to talk to Emma. I know this is difficult, but we need to hear from her what happened. Would you go get her? Sarah's heart clenched. She's sleeping. Finally. Sleeping. Do we have to wake her? Yes. I'm sorry, but we need to do this now. Time is critical in these cases. The sooner we can get her statement and get her to a hospital for examination, the better. Hospital. Examination. The words felt like physical blows. Sarah stood on legs that felt disconnected from her body and climbed the stairs. Each step felt like walking toward something terrible and inevitable. She paused outside Emma's door, her hand on the knob, and whispered a prayer to a God she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Please let me do this right. Please help me help her. She opened the door and turned on the light. Emma stirred, blinking against the brightness. Mom? What? Em, honey, you need to wake up. There are police officers here. They need to talk to you. Emma sat up fast, her eyes going wide with panic. What? Why? What did you do? I found the underwear, Emma. In your backpack. I saw the blood. Sarah moved to sit on the edge of the bed, but Emma scrambled back against the headboard, pulling her knees to her chest. No. Mom, no. You weren't supposed to. I was going to throw them away. You weren't supposed to find them. Supposed to throw them away and pretend nothing happened? Baby, I can't do that. I can't let you hide this. Whatever happened to you, you need help. We need to tell someone so they can help you. You don't understand. Emma was crying now, tears streaming down her face. I can't talk about it. If I tell, everyone will know. Everyone at church will know. Everyone at school. My whole life will be over. Your life is not over. I promise you, your life is not over. But we have to tell the police what happened. We have to. He said no one would believe me. He said I'd just make trouble for everyone and ruin everything. Sarah felt ice water flood her veins. Who said that, Emma? Who said no one would believe you? Emma's face crumpled. I can't. Mom, I can't. You can. You're so brave. You can do this. Sarah reached for Emma's hand, and this time Emma didn't pull away. Her hand was cold, trembling. The police officers downstairs, they're here to help. They believe you. I believe you. Whatever you tell me, I believe you. There was a soft knock at the door. Officer Chen stood in the doorway, her expression gentle. Emma? I'm Officer Chen. Can I come in? Emma looked at Sarah, terrified. Sarah squeezed her hand. It's okay. Officer Chen entered slowly, sitting in Emma's desk chair, giving her space. Emma, I know this is really scary. I know you don't want to talk about it. But your mom is right. We need to know what happened so we can help you. And so we can make sure whoever hurt you doesn't hurt anyone else. Emma stared at her knees, not speaking. Did someone hurt you this weekend? Silence. Did someone touch you in a way that made you uncomfortable? Still silence. Emma, I've been a police officer for 12 years. I've worked with a lot of kids who've been hurt. And I promise you, whatever happened, it's not your fault. Do you hear me? It's not your fault, and you're not in trouble. But I went to his cabin, Emma whispered. He said it was my fault because I went there, late at night. He said everyone would think I wanted it. Sarah felt like she'd been stabbed. Whose cabin, Emma? Who told you that? Emma looked up, her eyes meeting Sarah's. The pain in them was bottomless. Pastor David. The name hung in the air like a grenade. Sarah's vision swam. Number. Not David. Anyone but David. The man who'd prayed with them, who'd helped them, who'd been a spiritual guide for Emma. It couldn't be him. But it was. Sarah could see the truth in Emma's devastated face. Officer Chen's voice remained calm, professional. Emma, I need you to tell me exactly what Pastor David did. Take your time. You're safe now. He can't hurt you anymore. Emma's whole body shook. Sarah moved closer, wrapping an arm around her shoulders, and this time Emma leaned into her. Saturday night, after everyone went to sleep, he came to the girls' cabin. He knocked on the window and got my attention. He said he needed to talk to me, that it was important. I thought something was wrong, like there was an emergency or something. So I went outside. What time was this? Officer Chen asked gently. Late, maybe 11. Everyone else was asleep. He said we needed to talk somewhere private, that he couldn't sleep because he was worried about me. He took me to his cabin, the adults' cabin. He said we'd have privacy there to talk about what I'd shared at the testimonial service. But you said earlier you didn't actually share anything at the testimonial. I didn't. That was a lie. He made that up. I don't know why he told everyone I did. Emma's voice was getting stronger, anger creeping in alongside the fear. When we got to his cabin, at first it seemed normal. We sat at the table. He asked me how I was feeling about my dad leaving. I told him I was okay. Then he said God had shown him that I was hurting more than I was letting on, that I needed comfort, physical comfort. And he put his hand on my knee. Sarah felt sick. Officer Chen kept her expression neutral, kept taking notes. What happened then? I tried to move away, but he said I was being rude, that he was trying to help me heal. He said God works through touch, that physical affection is a gift from God. And his hand moved higher up my leg, and I told him I wanted to go back to my cabin. But he said I was being ungrateful, that he'd been patient with me for so long, watching me grow up, waiting for me to be ready. And I didn't understand what he meant. Ready for what? Officer Chen's pen stopped moving. Emma, Did Pastor David touch you sexually? Yes. The word came out as a sob. He touched me under my clothes, and I tried to push him away, but he's so much stronger than me. He grabbed my wrists and held them, said I needed to stop fighting, that this was what I really wanted even if I didn't know it yet, that I'd been flirting with him for months, and now I was playing hard to get. I never flirted with him. Emma looked at Sarah desperately. I swear, Mom, I never did anything to make him think. I know, baby. I know. This isn't your fault. Sarah pulled Emma closer, feeling her daughter's tears soaking into her shirt. Officer Chen's voice remained gentle but firm. Emma, I need to ask you some difficult questions. Did Pastor David penetrate you? Emma nodded against Sarah's shoulder. Vaginally? Yes. Did he use a condom? I don't know. I don't think so. Everything was blurry. I was trying not to scream because I didn't want everyone to wake up and see. He kept saying if I screamed, everyone would know what I'd done, that they'd all think I was a slut who seduced him. Officer Rodriguez had come upstairs at some point and was standing in the doorway, his face grim. He caught Officer Chen's eye and she nodded slightly. He disappeared, speaking quietly into his radio. What happened after? Officer Chen asked. When he was done, he made me go to his bathroom and wash myself. He stood in the doorway watching me, made me scrub everywhere, made sure there was no blood anywhere visible. Then he gave me these wet wipes and told me to use them to make sure. He said if I kept my mouth shut, we could both pretend it never happened and everything would be fine. But if I told anyone, no one would believe me. He said everyone knew I was troubled because of my dad leaving, that they'd think I made it up for attention, that my mom would be so disappointed in me. Sarah was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. I could never be disappointed in you. Never. This man, what he did to you, that's evil. That's not your fault, that's his fault. But I went to his cabin, Emma sobbed. I shouldn't have gone. You thought there was an emergency. You thought a trusted adult needed to talk to you. That's not your fault. Officer Chen leaned forward. Emma, you are so brave for telling us this. I know it was incredibly hard. I need to ask you a few more questions. Has Pastor David ever touched you inappropriately before this weekend? No. But he's always been kind of weird with me, like, too friendly. Hugs that lasted too long. He'd play with my hair sometimes during youth group. Call me special. Say I was his favorite. My friend Kayla said he was creepy, but I thought she was just being mean. I defended him. Emma's face twisted with regret. I should have listened to her. You couldn't have known, Officer Chen said firmly. Predators are very good at hiding who they really are. They build trust so no one questions them. That's not your fault. Do you know Kayla's last name? Monroe. Kayla Monroe. Emma, we need to take you to the hospital. I know that's scary, but it's really important. They need to do an examination to collect evidence and make sure you're physically okay. They'll also give you medicine to prevent pregnancy and STIs. Your mom can be with you the whole time. Emma's grip on Sarah tightened. Do I have to? Yes, sweetheart. We have to. Sarah stroked Emma's hair. We have to make sure you're okay. And we have to collect evidence so this man can never hurt another girl. Everyone's going to find out. Everyone's going to know what happened. Let them know, Sarah said fiercely. Let everyone know what he did. You have nothing to be ashamed of. He's the one who should be ashamed. He's the monster here, not you. Officer Chen stood. I'm going to call this in. Sarah, can you help Emma get dressed? We'll need to bag the clothes she's wearing as potential evidence. And we'll need to take the underwear you found. The next several hours existed in a surreal blur. Sarah helped Emma change into fresh clothes while Officer Chen bagged Emma's sweatpants and t-shirt. Officer Rodriguez secured the blood-stained underwear in an evidence bag, photographing it first. They drove to Mercy General Hospital in Officer Chen's car, Emma sitting small and silent in the back seat, clutching Sarah's hand like she was drowning, and Sarah was the only thing keeping her afloat. The pediatric emergency room was too bright, too cheerful with its murals of smiling animals that felt obscene given the circumstances. A nurse named Patricia came out to meet them, her voice soft and kind. She explained what would happen: the examination, the photos, the evidence collection. Each word felt like another nail in the coffin of Emma's childhood. They were taken to a private room. A sexual assault nurse examiner arrived. A woman in her 40s named Diane Torres, who'd clearly done this hundreds of times but still maintained genuine compassion. She explained each step before she did it. She was gentle. She let Emma control the pace. She never made Emma feel rushed or violated again. But it was still violating. Sarah held Emma's hand through all of it, watching her daughter cry silently as photographs were taken of bruises Sarah hadn't even known were there. Bruises on Emma's inner thighs, fingertip bruises on her wrists. Evidence of trauma that made Sarah want to find David Ellis and kill him with her bare hands. Swabs were collected. Blood was drawn. Medicine was administered. The whole process took nearly 2 hours. When it was finally over, Emma was given sedatives to help her sleep. She was curled up in Sarah's arms, finally drifting off, when Detective Lisa Brennan arrived. Detective Brennan was in her mid-40s, with gray streaking through her dark hair and tired eyes that had seen too much. She introduced herself as the lead investigator from the Special Victims Unit. She sat down across from Sarah while Emma slept against her shoulder. "How is she?" Detective Brennan asked quietly. "As okay as she can be." Sarah adjusted Emma's weight, careful not to wake her. "What happens now?" "We're executing search warrants right now. Officers are at David Ellis's home, his office at the church, and Pine Valley Retreat Center. We're seizing his electronics, looking for any other evidence. We're also reaching out to every family whose children have been in his youth group." Detective Brennan paused. "I called Kayla Monroe's parents. They're coming in to give a statement tomorrow. Apparently, David cornered Kayla in a Sunday school room 6 months ago. Kissed her, touched her inappropriately. Kayla told her parents. They confronted David privately. He cried, said he was going through marital problems, begged them not to report it. They believed him. They pulled Kayla from the church but didn't call police." Sarah felt rage and grief warring in her chest. If they'd reported it, this wouldn't have happened to Emma. Maybe. Maybe not. Predators don't stop until they're forced to stop. But yes, if they'd reported it, we might have caught him sooner. What happens next? We'll arrest David Ellis within the next few hours. He'll be charged with rape of a child, sexual assault, and whatever other charges we can make stick once we've gone through all the evidence. He'll get a lawyer. He'll probably claim the sex was consensual, that Emma came on to him. They always do. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. She's 14. She can't consent. I know, and we'll make that clear. But these cases are difficult, Sarah. I'm not going to lie to you. They're going to try to destroy Emma's credibility. They're going to bring up the divorce, your mother's death, anything they can use to paint Emma as troubled and unreliable. They're going to make this ugly. Let them try. We'll fight. Good. Because Emma's going to need you to be strong. Detective Brennan stood. Get some rest if you can. You're going to need it. Tomorrow is going to be hard. The next few months are going to be hard. But you did the right thing by calling. You saved your daughter. At 4 a.m, Sarah's phone rang. She'd been dozing in the hospital chair, Emma asleep in the bed beside her. The caller ID showed David Ellis. Sarah stared at it, her heart pounding. Detective Brennan had left her card with instructions to call immediately if David tried to contact them. Sarah answered and immediately put it on speaker. "Sarah." David's voice was concerned, warm, exactly as it had always been. "I just heard there were police at your house tonight. Is Emma okay? Is she sick?" Every word out of his mouth made Sarah want to vomit. "Why are you calling me at 4 a.m, David?" "I couldn't sleep. I was worried. One of your neighbors posted on the church Facebook group about police cars. What's going on?" He was fishing, trying to find out what Emma had said. "Emma's at the hospital." "Oh no. What happened?" "She's having some health issues. Female problems." The lie came easily. Too easily. There was a pause. Has she said anything to you about the retreat?" About being upset. Like what? Another longer pause. Just, she seemed withdrawn on the drive home. I want to make sure I didn't do anything to upset her. You know how sensitive she can be. Sensitive. He was already building his defense, planting the idea that Emma overreacted to things. Sarah's hand tightened on the phone. She hasn't said much. She's very tired. Of course. Well, please let me know if there's anything I can do. I care about Emma very much. She's so special. I'd hate to think I'd hurt her feelings somehow. The words made Sarah's skin crawl. She ended the call and immediately texted Detective Brennan a transcript of the conversation. Within 10 minutes, she got a reply. He's worried. Already trying to establish his caring mentor persona and paint Emma as sensitive, emotional. Officers are heading to his house now to arrest him. At 6:30 a.m., Sarah got another text from Detective Brennan. David Ellis in custody. Denied everything. Says Emma is troubled and making false accusations. His lawyer is already involved. Sarah looked at her sleeping daughter, at the IV in her arm, at the bruises on her wrists, and she felt a cold determination settle over her. They were going to fight this. Whatever it took, however long it took, they were going to make sure David Ellis paid for what he'd done. The next few days were a nightmare of police interviews, forensic examinations, and mounting evidence. The DNA from Emma's rape kit came back positive, a match for David Ellis. His phone revealed hundreds of text messages to various girls in the youth group, most innocent, but some crossing lines. Telling Emma she was beautiful, asking about their personal lives in too much detail. Building inappropriate relationships disguised as spiritual mentorship. His computer was worse. Thousands of photos of teenage girls, none explicitly sexual but all carefully collected and organized. Photos from church events, from social media, from school websites. All girls between 13 and 16. The collection went back years. 2 more girls came forward. Rachel Diaz, 15, said David had kissed her during a one-on-one counseling session 8 months ago. She'd been too afraid to tell anyone. Madison Porter, 16, said he'd made inappropriate comments about her body and had once tried to get her to sit on his lap during a prayer session. The evidence was overwhelming. But David's lawyer, a sharp man named Robert Cunningham, was already building a defense. Emma was troubled, emotionally vulnerable from the divorce and her grandmother's death. She'd developed an inappropriate crush on David. When he'd gently tried to set boundaries, she'd lashed out by making false accusations. The preliminary hearing was 3 months after the assault. Sarah had to take a leave of absence from her job to be with Emma, who was struggling. Panic attacks, nightmares, refusing to leave the house. School had become impossible when someone leaked Emma's name and suddenly everyone knew. Whispers in hallways, cruel comments on social media. She probably wanted it. She's just mad he didn't want her back. My mom says she's lying. Emma cut her hair short one night, sobbing while she hacked at it with kitchen scissors. I want to look ugly, she'd cried. I want boys to leave me alone forever. Sarah had held her while she cried, feeling helpless and furious and heartbroken. At the preliminary hearing, Emma had to testify. Sarah sat in the courtroom watching her daughter take the stand, watching David Ellis sit at the defense table looking dignified and sorrowful like he was the victim here. His wife Catherine sat behind him, her face carefully blank. Emma told her story. Her voice shook, but she didn't break. She answered every question, even the cruel ones from Cunningham designed to rattle her. Didn't you have a crush on him? Didn't you send him texts with heart emojis? Have you been in therapy for emotional problems? Emma held firm. No. Those were friendship hearts. I'm in therapy now because of what he did to me. The judge ruled there was sufficient evidence for trial. David Ellis was charged with rape of a child, sexual assault, and multiple counts of sexual abuse of a minor. He posted bail and was released with an ankle monitor and orders to stay away from children. 6 months passed. 6 months of Emma in therapy twice a week with Dr. Catherine Park. 6 months of gradual healing. Emma joined a support group for survivors. She started drawing again. Dark, angry images at first that slowly became lighter. She wrote a letter to Kayla Monroe apologizing for not believing her. Kayla wrote back with understanding and solidarity. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Emma testified for 3 hours, telling her story to a jury of strangers while David Ellis watched. She cried, but didn't break down. And when it was over, when Cunningham had finished trying to destroy her credibility, Emma looked directly at David and said, "I know you know what you did. I hope you think about it every day for the rest of your life in prison." Kayla testified. Rachel testified. Madison testified. A pattern emerged that couldn't be explained away. Expert witnesses talked about grooming. The DNA evidence was irrefutable. The photo collection was damning. The prosecution's closing focused on trust betrayed. This man weaponized his position of spiritual authority to abuse children. The evidence is overwhelming. It's time to hold him accountable. The defense claimed impossible consent and false accusations from troubled girls seeking attention. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all counts. David Ellis's face crumpled. His wife covered her face. Emma squeezed Sarah's hand so hard it hurt. At sentencing, Emma read a victim impact statement. "You stole my ability to trust, my connection to church, my sense of safety. But I'm here to tell you I'm not broken. I'm healing. I'm not ashamed anymore because I didn't do anything wrong. You did. And now everyone knows it." The judge sentenced him to 20 years. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. Outside the courthouse, Sarah held Emma while news cameras filmed from a distance. They'd sold their house, were moving to a new town in a week. Fresh start, new school, new job, leaving behind the memories and whispers. That night, they sat on their back porch watching the sunset. "Do you think I'll ever feel normal again?" Emma asked. Sarah considered carefully. "I think you'll feel different. But different doesn't mean broken. You're stronger now. You know you can survive hard things and speak up for yourself. I wish it hadn't happened. I know. I wish that more than anything. But I'm glad I told." Sarah pulled Emma closer. "I'm so proud of you. I love you, Mom. I love you too, more than anything." They sat as the sun set, survivors both. The road ahead would still be difficult. There would be setbacks, but Emma would laugh again, make friends, fall in love with someone who deserved her. She would reclaim her life piece by piece, and Sarah would be there every step, just as she'd been there that Sunday when she'd seen blood-stained underwear and known in her bones her daughter needed help. That maternal instinct had changed everything. The difference between justice and silence, healing and festering. As darkness fell, Emma said quietly, "Thank you for believing me." "Always," Sarah said. "I will always believe you." That's what mothers do. Despite everything they'd endured, Sarah felt something she hadn't in months: hope. Not that things would return to how they were, but that they could build something new, something stronger, something that couldn't be broken. Emma stood. "I'm going to finish packing. We leave in a week." Sarah watched her go inside, this girl who'd survived the unsurvivable and found her voice. Sarah felt her heart break and heal simultaneously, learning to hold grief and gratitude at once. Tomorrow they'd keep moving forward. One day, one step, one breath at a time. Until Emma could think of her childhood and remember not just the horror, but the strength she'd shown. Until she could protect her own future children, trust her instincts, know how to believe them. That day would come. It had to. And until then, Sarah would be Emma's unwavering support, fierce protector, constant reminder that she was loved and believed and valued. That's what mothers do. They believe their children. They trust their instincts. When necessary, they dial 911 and set justice in motion, no matter the cost. Because some things are worth any fight. Your child's safety, your child's healing, your child's future, always.